Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the football podcast, and everybody's here, and we're all talking football, and that's what we like to hear. We've got predictions, we've got reviews, we've got a whole host of football games going on, we've got football news, and some light-hearted football info. Before we get into the football, if I could ask you to take a minute to subscribe if you already haven't. If you have, then ask a friend or a family member to do the same. They'll thank you for it. Right, there we go. Let's get on with it. It's time for football. So here we go. This is CookieCast, the football podcast.
Recording in progress.
Yes, recording in progress. He's back, ladies and gentlemen. So, seeing as he's here, we'll give him the honours of introducing his own podcast. Paul?
Yeah, go on, Stu. What? Oh, sorry, it was me you referred to, yes. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Apologies for my absence last week. But yes, all better now. He says with a voice that sounds like he's smoked about 80 fags today, or been on nothing but whiskey for the best part of 8 days. Yes, you will. You're all welcome back into the loving bosom that is the football podcast. We'll go through some Borough, Forest, and Hull-based Shanahanigans and bring you all bang up to date with the goings on in the football world.
Wonderful, wonderful intro. Where are we starting this week?
Might as well dive straight into last week's. Well, I say last week's predictions and results, but obviously we'll only be able to do half of those, as two of the games don't even kick off till tomorrow. Not to date the recording schedule.
We're going to have to pull back the curtain here, aren't we, to kind of set it all up?
We are the men behind the curtain. So what Paul is alluding to is the fact that at time of recording, one of the three second half of the week games is in play, and two of them, as he said, don't even play till tomorrow. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of a roll up. We're going to take the second half of the week and we're going to add them to next week's predictions, as there is only 3 games to predict next week, and I believe a mention of an international break. I will obviously be going internationally for my break. So that just leaves 3 games to discuss, and what games they were. Absolute goal fests, left, right and centre. Names that you didn't expect to see scoring goals. Let's get started with Birmingham versus Hull City. I at one point I thought I'd missed recording the number of goals that were in this game. Stu?
Well, I'm very pleased to report that if it was possible to win a game 0-0, Hull would have done that, according to Sky. However, you may have picked up, there was no goals. So, apparently Hull had 3 clear-cut chances to win, and Hull just be doing Hull things and not scoring any of them.
Yeah, so 0-0. Now then, I was like, I should probably check whether Paul gets points on this, because he didn't put any predictions in, and there weren't any goals. So he didn't predict any goals, and there weren't any. So on a technicality, is that 2 points? 2 points for Paul.
Stick him in.
Matt
stick
is
him in the
not
basket.
convinced on
We'll
this
say
one.
no more and we'll move on.
Matt is not convinced on this one. What I will say is, you might want to be more convinced when it comes to the next game, because obviously we would need to talk about other technicalities for that one. Yes, 0-0. no goal scorers, no goal scored, which means that all of our predictions are worthless, and it's bagels across the board, gents. It can only get better from here when we talk about Millwall going up against Paul's favourite team, the mighty Borough. Goalfest?
Well, you could say that. It would be a lie. Yes, this is our second game of the week that has finished 0-0. I was out on Saturday for a walk with some friends and did it just assume at one point that I was in a 4G black spot because I was just kept checking my phone and nothing was coming through, and then I got the notification that it was half time. I was like, oh, so it's absolutely fine then. And then obviously carried on walking and then got the notification at full time and it was 0-0. So I was like, oh yeah, if anything, I've got too much signal. But yeah, don't think anything of note happened in the game. I haven't seen any of the highlights apart from a save that Joe Lumley pulled off in the top corner from a corner, I believe, from Millwall, and that looked like it was possibly the only chance of note in the game. I think maybe Borough could have had a penalty, but again, I've not seen any of it, so I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, not one for the purists anyway. When you've got Millwall involved, but 0-0. It's a point on the board, but are there any points on the board for any of the podcast people? Let's have a look.
So 0-0. You would think that's going to be very similar to the Birmingham Hull City game where there's no points on the board. However, I need some clarification because 0-0 is still a draw. So if somebody picked a draw, for example, does that constitute as 1 point?
Correct.
Congratulations, Stu and Matt, for both predicting draws. That doesn't change the week as such, but it does change, obviously, the scores that I've written down. I will now sulk. I will now proceed to sulk about this for the rest of the podcast.
I must admit that I did partake of listening to the recording from last week, and a very good job you did, boys. Much applause there. And I did notice that at one point Matt had commented on the fact that I'd said that Borough are, for want of a better phrase, shit away from home. So I did quite enjoy the fact that obviously I'm being listened to. So
you are
listened to and quoted,
and then obviously ignored. Yeah, of course.
In case anybody's wondering why I didn't add myself into the points fest that is 0-0 still gets you points, that's because I had Middlesbrough down to win heavily. But it's fine because Nottingham Forest versus Reading happened. I will go at this point in time. Paul, you thought you had some kind of weird 4G black spot. I went on to start putting the scores down and was like, has it not refreshed? No, because it's got the little FT. I was like, is this a wind-up? Has somebody done this on purpose? But yes, 2 lots of 0-0, followed by a third 0-0. Yes, Matt?
No, we had all the goals. All the goals.
So this was the thing. This was the thing. What I realised when doing the totting it all up, I was like, oh, Nottingham Forest took all the duty.
Yeah, it started well. So first Forest goal was in 17 seconds. So cracking start. And then so Keenan Davis, who I think I might have made a comment a couple of weeks ago that he looked like he couldn't hit the back end of something with a banjo. And then he roundly set about proving me wrong this weekend. So 2 goals for him. The second goal was really good. It was quite a nice kind of turn and finish.
I'm going to say it. I've seen it on the Forest Twitter somewhere. Reminiscence of Stan Collymore. That's a big name to say in Forest. Purely striking related, other activities are ignored. And then of course to keep Paul kind of in going. Ryan Yates turned up and smashed the goal, smashed the ball in the back of the net. Very nice finish, not a usual header. And then just to finish the afternoon off, Surridge slotted in the 4th goal in a rout. And after watching the Sheffield United game the previous week, I think that a shoe-in like this has probably been in the offing for a while for somebody. And Reading are pretty terrible and pretty much got what was coming kind of thing. So a 4-0 win.
4-0. I think we can all agree. Clearly, Nottingham Forest were picking up all the slack from everybody else. What's gonna set aside here is, did the 3 people that predicted scores go with a Nottingham Forest win? Let's face it, nobody was putting down 4-0. And could it come down to somebody having the foresight to predict one of the 4 goal scorers to take the lead and indeed the win for the week? Stu, you predicted a 2-0 Nottingham Forest win. That's points for you. Unfortunately, neither of your goal scorers scored a goal. I, almost identical to your prediction, a 2-0 Nottingham Forest win. Point for me. The classic Johnson-Zinkenagel goal scoring duo did not net me any points. Matthew Moore, a 2-1 Nottingham Forest win. But a prediction of Davis sets the men aside from the boys. What that means is that Matthew wins that. And as we know already, not many points for the rest of the week. So it's a 1-2-3. This guy bringing up the rear with the 1 point. Stuart Woodmansey 2 points. And this week's winner, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Matthew Moore. Congratulations to you, sir.
Just whilst we are clarifying the scoring, though, seeing as we ended up having to wait for half of this week's or last week's predictions, is that only half a win for Matt? Just saying.
It's half a week win. Because of the way we're doing it this week, you will get half a win, and next week we will clarify whether it's a full win or not. What I can tell you at time of recording is it looks like somebody is definitely bringing back the points. So 3 games for the second half of the week. 1 is in play right now. 2 to play tomorrow. So we will have to leave those predictions on ice. Keep that powder dry. So I believe it's been a quiet week news-wise. Nothing trending on Twitter this afternoon, that's for sure. So it's either going to be more predictions or talking about the lack of things trending on Twitter this afternoon. Paul?
Well, why don't we go through next week's games, and then that will lead us on nice... Oh, actually, no. We could do the news, because there's only really one thing that's kind of happened, which would then lead us nicely into the at least one of the games that we're going to be predicting for next week. Obviously everything that's going on in the world with the situation in Ukraine, and obviously the knock-on effect of all that, and obviously the Roman Abramovich having the sanctions placed on him against him by the UK government has meant that obviously Chelsea have got a load of sanctions against them. They're only allowed to spend so much money per game. so much money on transportation, blah blah blah.
They could only spend 20 grand on travelling to a game. I was like, oh my god, how awful! 20 grand.
Well, you say that,
and
they covered.
Just to point out that they had the 20 grand put on there, and then after the first interview I saw after that got announced was old Tommy Tinkle talking about how they'd flown to Norwich. What the fuck, man? They live in London. Just drive. I know it's still but don't get in the aeroplane.
I remember that Arsenal got in a load of shit about that a couple of years ago when they played Norwich and they got absolutely hammered for the fact that they'd taken a 20-minute flight from London to Norfolk or Norwich backcountry international airport or whatever it's classed as and stuff like that. And then obviously, like there was the talk of how bad it is for the environment, etc., etc. But it's, I mean, that's just nonsense, isn't it? Like you say, London to Norfolk is not going to be any more than a 3 or 4 hour drive, and that is a perfectly acceptable amount of time to be sat in a luxury coach with reclining seats or even beds, dare I say.
You can see the standard of the coaches. They're not. It's not like you're catching the what do you call it? The
megabus.
What? Not getting on the megabus. You're catching your kind of thing. And you got to go space. Lukaku's got to stand up and hold the rail, kind of thing. You kind of it's not a devastating kind of thing, is it?
Just by Google Maps, even if they drove stadium to stadium, it is about 2.5 hours. Now, that is on a toll road, so that might push them close to their 20 grand for spending a couple of quid to go down the right motorway. But yeah, 2.5 hours that could have been on a bus. Absolutely insane. Just
to briefly dip off this for a second. In the current Birmingham versus Middlesbrough game, Middlesbrough just had a second goal chalked off for an offside flag that came 30 seconds at least after the ball hit the net and the players were celebrating.
Still offside then, yeah?
Apparently so. But yeah, so obviously all these sanctions have come in to say that they can't sell any more tickets. Obviously they're only allowed, the season tickets have sold so far, and that caused an argument today for them to say that because they'd only managed to sell, I think it was 600 tickets so far for the away end at Middlesbrough for the FA Cup game that's due this coming Saturday, that they felt that in the interest of, what was the word they used? The integrity of the game.
I have it right here if you need it.
Oh, please, Andrew, if you wouldn't mind.
For matters of sporting integrity.
There you go, sporting integrity, ladies and gentlemen. Said uttered by an employee of Chelsea Football Club. Up there with the most integral of all UK-based football clubs in the last 20 years.
Well, there's two responses to this. I presume you're going to get to one of them. So I'll just the follow-up there is Middlesbrough described as ironic in the extreme.
It was an absolute joke. But the argument was that they wanted to have the game played behind closed doors, so have no supporters whatsoever. So not only did they want to, obviously they're annoyed that they can't sell more tickets, but they were already willing to throw the 600 people that had already bought tickets under the bus to not have them in the stadium. It's the request has since been withdrawn upon requests from their own supporters group, was one of the people who told him to withdraw it. It was discussed it wasn't in Parliament, but it was discussed with MPs today and the liaison from the FA. It's an absolute shit show, and it was just the idea that going back to the £20,000 cost on the away travel. Someone from Sky Sports News today did say that on average for the travelling costs to go to a game such as Middlesbrough, so I'm assuming they're using like Newcastle as an equivalency, it would cost them 60 grand on average.
It's scandalous thing is, with that, but aside from the fact that you said they were throwing 600 supporters in front of a bus, no, they was throwing it in front of a 20 grand private jet. But the fact of the matter is that they fly up, so even if they flew up, fly up to Newcastle, which is not, I mean, it's a 5-hour drive, which, fair enough, but it's the fact that they then drive their own coach up here as well. So they fly up on the private jet, and then their own coach comes and takes them. And I'm just like, I mean, no wonder the world is effed, because, and talking about the integrity thing, take their owner out of it. The club with the least integrity, pre-Abramovich and post-Abramovich, they're a scummy club.
Well, are we gonna cover Steve Gibson's response to this?
Give it now if you want.
Middlesbrough chairman Steve Gibson has responded furiously to Chelsea's request to play their FA Cup quarter-final at the Riverside Stadium behind closed doors. In quotes, "Chelsea and sporting integrity do not belong in the same sentence." End quote. That made my afternoon. I read that and it was just like,
they've seen who you guys have put out in the last few rounds. They're just frightened of the Borough, clearly.
Well, it's not even frightened of the Borough. Frightened of the Borough supporters. Obviously, it's not. They've got no problems about the team. They're obviously thinking, we'll just deal with those shithouses on the pitch. It's fine. But with those fans in the stands, no, we can't compete with that. That's just not possible. What? There's only 600 Chelsea headhunters. Ooh, no, can't be doing that. Can't have them going up against the Parmo army. So it's all a bit of a nonsense. It caused a bit of a storm in a teacup within sort of the space of the 2-3 hours that it was announced and then retracted. But yeah, I think it's.
It was trending quite high on Twitter.
Oh yeah, it was a massive thing. But surprisingly enough, Chelsea not getting any sympathy from any groups of supporters. Funny that. But the thing that annoyed me the most was the fact that they said that we're not allowed to sell any more tickets. How about this for an idea? How about you give some away? How about you just give them to the supporters that have already sort of paid for other things during the season?
Right, I have questions about this, because obviously I knew that this would come up, because this is like the big news, I guess. So historically, am I right in thinking that during the cup ties they sell all the tickets, or as many tickets as they can sell, and then the pot gets split between the clubs, right?
Correct. So if they didn't sell any more Chelsea tickets, but then they sold the rest, the full capacity minus 600 to Borough fans, surely some of that money would be going to Chelsea anyway, right? Well, this is the thing. So I don't think it's going to be a case of.
I can see the logic in them saying behind closed doors in that respect, because then that stops all the business about what money goes where. But surely the only right thing to do would be pack the place full of home fans, because it's their own fucking fault, and the 50% that would go to Chelsea, send it to pay for all the supplies and stuff that are going out to the front line.
Yeah, I mean, there's this is what I don't understand. So obviously, if they do go through, which obviously we'll cover in the predictions, which I'm pretty sure 95% of people would presume they probably will beat Borough because they're a better team, etc., etc. They'll obviously qualify for prize money. Now, do they get that prize money? Does it go into like some sort of holding account that the government are in control of, or the FA is in control of? It's all ridiculous. And like, when it comes to away supporters going to Stamford Bridge, I don't know how that works either, because I never really understand whether which club gets the proceeds of the away tickets. Because I think we've had a conversation before when it was like we're talking over 10 years ago here, but there was a game where Hull played Middlesbrough at the Riverside. All the Hull fans, I think, had paid 30 quid for the tickets. All the home supporters, unless they were season ticket holders, had paid a tenner. And obviously, I don't know if just like all the £30 for all the away ticket holders went straight to Middlesbrough, or if it went to Hull as part of their agreement. I don't know how it works.
I'm pretty sure back in those days, I think, like, the clubs had to, so say Hull were coming to Borough, and Borough said, right, you can have 2,000 tickets. Hull would have to, I think, pay for those 2,000 tickets, and then any they didn't sell, they would return, and then it would balance out that way. So effectively, it would be Borough still getting all the money for it, one way or the other.
Because obviously that opens its own like sort of can of worms as well, doesn't it? Like, it's a case of, well, does that mean you can't have away supporters at Stamford Bridge and things like that? But I imagine they've appealed, haven't they? The Chelsea supporters club, I think, have appealed on behalf of the club to the UK government to say, like, the sanctions have put on are too restrictive and things like that, and they need sort of changes to be made to make it accessible for the supporters to be able to sort of carry on going to games, etc., etc. And I would agree with that.
I know, but like, again, there are people losing their lives, there are families, and yet, you know, just because old Terry can't get himself down to Stamford Bridge for his jar of fucking jellied eels, get your priorities in order, love. Not a chance. If do you know what? They were happy to jump into bed with him all those years ago. Tough shit now.
Yeah, and the ones that are going to games aren't exactly helping themselves by when there's a minute's applause or a minute's silence or whatever for, you know, the victims of the situation in Ukraine singing the name of the owner. It's not exactly painting yourselves in the best light, is it? It's that's something more akin to our white-shirted brethren from down in West Yorkshire, dare I say. So,
well, you see, that's the real match that everybody wants to predict on the podcast. It should be Ryan Yates versus the Chelsea fans for ultimate shithousery, right?
Well, I don't know. I think if you listen carefully, you can hear Duncan Watmore just sort of like clipping around the edges, just asking for his input into the want to throw his hat in the ring. Because he's heard good things from Stu about him, so, you know. But yeah, it's a tricky situation, to say the least, and one that we probably can't discuss any further without taking a very short break to refuel the coffers and whatnot.
One thing that I will say, just to round up the Chelsea chat, is that by Friday of this current week, the preferred bidder is going to be revealed for the takeover of the club. So we'll find out how intent the UK government are on fucking them over by saying if they'll sell them to somebody who could actually run it, or if the local ice cream man is now taken over and is going to just let it implode. We shall find out.
Can you imagine if it turns out that the preferred bidder is a man by the name of Kenneth Bates?
It's Boris Johnson. It's been his whole plan all along because he wants to take over Chelsea.
I mean, one of the guys, he's married to Holly Valance of Neighbours fame.
I don't remember from Neighbours.
Yeah.
From other music videos and such. And on that bombshell,
we will take a very short break. We'll come back and predict some football games. So, join us in mere seconds. We'll be right back.
Recording in progress.
Recording is allegedly in progress, and we are back. So, the question on everybody's lips is there any more news to cover?
I have a little bit of Hull City news, on the Middlesbrough, Nottingham Forest Hull City podcast. It's not very big. It's unfortunately for Hull City fans, there is good news and bad news, so we'll start with the bad news. And the bad news is that Nathan Baxter has been pretty much confirmed that he's not going to return from injury until after the international break, which is the goalkeeper that we've got on loan from aforementioned Chelsea. I'm hoping for his sake that Hull are paying his wages. But yeah, goalkeeper's been a bit of a rough position, especially in the terms of the guys trying to hold it down over the last sort of 4 or 5 games. So, we could do with him back, and it just seems to have been extended that little bit longer now. But the good news bit, in a way, is that the new owner is already making good on his word to put the focus back on the football and the focus on the fans, and has taken it upon himself to rename one of the stands within the ground. Missed this last week, should have picked it up last week, but at the West Brom game, they have now renamed the East Stand in honour of the club's record goal scorer. So the East Stand is now the Chris Chilton Stand. Chris passed away in May of last year. They couldn't really do too much at the time because of all the rules and regs and what have you. So the new owner has gone in as soon as he could, I guess, and then started to make right on a few things football-wise. Just for the record, Chris Chilton scored 222 goals in 477 appearances for the club in a roughly 11-year spell between 1960 and 1971.
Good work.
Are they planning on doing any more stands, or?
Nothing yet. I mean, I wouldn't put it past them, but then they will also have to strike the balance of the fact that they're sponsored by other companies and are effectively removing revenue if they do it. I think they were always going to get away with renaming some financially on the basis of it's now the MKM Stadium, and MKM sponsored some of the stands before, so it was kind of neither in it there.
It's just because I know that I don't know if this was back when Man City. It must have been when they moved into the new stadium, but I'm pretty sure there was either talk or there was an internet poll.
I know exactly where you're going with this one.
Matt knows where I'm going with this. So there was an internet poll where where the fans could suggest a name for an ex-player who could, have their name given to one of the stands. And it just so happens that Man City have a former player who was actually quite good for him called Colin Bell. Now there's talk that maybe some Man United fans may have got wind of this and hijacked said internet poll and just managed to throw their support behind Colin Bell getting one of the stands named after him. Because let's be honest, who wouldn't want to go and stand in the Bell end? I'll leave it at that, but
Exceptional work. Any more news?
Got a bit of Forest news. The 4-0 win came at a cost. So Steve Cook and MacLeod, the left side of defence, are out for 6 weeks. So Steve Cook's done his ankle, and MacLeod has got he's had growing problems that we all season. But it seems to be a slight problem with his groin again. And then just to brighten Paul's week, Ryan Yates has re-upped with Forest till 2025. So we get loads of lovely Ryan Yates discussions for the next 3 years at least, along with John Smith, who's a goalkeeper. he's a young lad, and we'll see where that one goes, kind of thing.
The one good thing about Yates re-signing on with Forest is the fact that there was a couple of seasons ago there was rumours that Borough were after him in the transfer market. So at least that puts that to bed. He ain't going to be anywhere near the Riverside unless he's in a Forest shirt.
There's a very nice photo on the Forest Twitter of him signing his first kind of signing for Forest as a youth in his Forest trackie, and then obviously signing another contract kind of thing. I thought it was quite a kind of thing, you know. Yeah, he's a battler, shall we call him?
I think we all know what he is, but you know,
very good footballer.
Yeah, we'll go goal machine. That's the phrase I was looking for. Yeah.
In terms of podcast news, is there anything on the return of Mr. 60 Goals himself?
I think in the immortal words of Zach Gibson, soon.
It'll be like Baxter for us. It'll be the international break. For whatever reason, all of the injuries that have taken time magically disappear during the one weekend that they get off, considering, you know, they've not played football for 2 months already, or whatever it might be.
I think if they were losing and not scoring goals, then I think the rush would have been a little bit more urgent. But I think the fact that Davis has come in and is playing well and they're scoring, and Surridge has come in and scored, got his opened his account. I don't think there's a massive rush. I think they want him right to say, you know, can't say it out too loud, but you know, possible playoff push.
Yeah, I was going to say that they're probably lucky in that fact that the one position on the pitch where they can probably afford to give it a little bit of extra time is up front at the minute when they've got a couple of different options there. So I mean, even they could probably just play Johnson as a central striker if they wanted to, couldn't they? So
yeah.
So
I just didn't want to miss out on any points. That's all.
Don't worry, I'll let you all know when he's back and fit.
Is that all from a news perspective? Then surely all that can be left at this point in time is to predict some football games. We've got a bit of a mixed bag this week because for some teams it's just a standard run-of-the-mill football game. For other teams it's cup-based football. However, first game of the week is Hull City going up against Luton Town. Stu, as always, you'll pick last. I've already gone in on the book this week, but Matt, why don't you let me know what you think's going to happen in the Hull Luton Town game?
I have gone for a 2-2 draw.
2-2. Lovely stuff.
And in my rush to do the predictions, I got to get some Luton teams, Luton players. So I've got for Hull, I've got KLP and Hoyman. I've got Cornick for Luton. And Adebayo.
Okay. I've got Hull City down to win, just cheeky 1-0. I have also got Lewis Potter down to score. Paul?
just trying to check to see how Luton got on at the weekend.
They lost 2-1 on Sunday to QPR.
That's why I can't find them. Yeah, they were 1-0 up against QPR. Yeah. They're one of those teams that are in and around the playoffs, so it would be handy if Hull could just, send them packing. So I'll put that request in now, Stuart, if that's all right, yeah?
We'll get to that shortly.
I will go for a sneaky 1-0 home win.
Lovely stuff.
You'll want a goal scorer though, won't you?
If you've got one lying around.
It's almost like he's done this before, Andy.
Let's have a look who was in the team on Saturday. I'd just take a goal scorer from Saturday, but as we discussed, couldn't do that for either of the Hull or the Borough games. So, I'll go for a very, very rare Richie Smallwood goal. I reckon it'll be like he'll pick the ball up about 40 yards out, carry it. No one will close him down. He'll unleash one from 35 yards that'll actually rip the stanchion off, and they'll have to fix the goal afterwards.
That's a very specific prediction. If that doesn't happen, Andy, don't give him the point.
Yes, if it's a tap-in from 2 yards, I only get half a point.
No problem. Stu, what's your team doing this week?
Well, my team will be playing before my very eyes this weekend as we are taking the boys. So, last time that the new owner, again with the doing right by the fans thing, he decided to do kids and guests of pass holders for £2 a ticket. So, last time out they did it against Barnsley, thinking that they would see a decent crowd midweek and also probably pick up some points. Don't know if anybody can remember the predictions from a few weeks ago, but Barnsley did in fact win that game 2-0 and City were absolutely terrible. So I'm assuming they might get a bit of a rocket up their arse about that this time around, and in a very rare podcast outing I am predicting a Hull win. So I'm going to go for Hull 2, Luton 1. And weirdly, Paul brought this name up before, but I do have Bell down to score for Luton.
Okay.
And for City, I will go for George Honeyman to score 1. And man, I'm going to go for Force for the second. Smallwood's a weird prediction for you, Paul. He's a real Marmite player for our team. People either seem to literally love him or hate him.
Is he the captain?
I think he's one of them players where he looks like he does nothing, but when he's not in the side, they're a little bit more laps.
Well, he probably learned it all in the hard Teesside shipyards and stuff like that. So,
okay. Switching over to FA Cup flavoured football, we've got the already mentioned Middlesbrough going up against the Sporting Integrity club Chelsea. This is one of those where I was like, I love seeing like certain teams putting one on the bigger teams and stuff. So I've got Middlesbrough to win 1-0. It's true. Sporar to score the goal. Anybody want to up that? Matt, Stu, any takers?
I'll go. I've gone for Middlesbrough 1, Chelsea 3.
Okay.
Crooks to score for Middlesbrough. Pulisic, just to throw a spanner in the works, to score 1 for Chelsea, and Lukaku to get 2.
Okay. Stu.
Within the 90 minutes, I have gone for 1-1. As Matt said, Crooks to score for Borough because he likes a big day outing against the big teams. So, and I've gone for Mason Mount to score for Chelsea.
Okay. Paul.
0-2. I'd like to think that they'll probably use the sort of like the nonsense that's come out in the last couple, like sort of in the last day or so. It's sort of fire them up a bit, but I still think Chelsea will have way too much for a much better team than Man United or Spurs. So I'll go for. It's normally players that I don't like or like that score. So I'll go for Callum Hudson-Odoi and Ruben Loftus-Cheek to score, because I don't understand how Ruben Loftus-Cheek was anywhere near the England squad that went to the World Cup in 2018. So,
I mean, not that you hold a grudge or anything, Paul, but
absolutely mental. I mean, like I think they actually showed up his stats tonight. He was on his like 4th or something cap for England, and he'd had 30 games at senior level, and it was like, what the fuck is this? Why is he anywhere near that squad? Absolutely disgraceful. But yeah, he'll probably play. He'll probably look like an absolute world beater, and he'll probably score from about 85 yards out or something.
Our final game is also FA Cup flavoured. It's Nottingham Forest going up against Liverpool. Matt, you will pick last. Look, I need to get it out in the open. I've had to go against my normal way of picking games. I'm sorry, but I've had to put Nottingham Forest down to lose this game. I don't want to see it, and normally I would predict the way I want to see it go, but I have gone with a 1-2 here. Obviously Johnson's getting in on the action. I did my best to pick players that I thought would A, actually still be playing, and B, were going to score. So I've gone with Diaz and Salah to score for Liverpool. Stu.
Yep. Of the two teams that we have on the podcast still in the FA Cup, I think Forest are more likely to probably try and actually play, no offence Paul, actually play some football. But I think that if they do that, Liverpool will probably just overrun it. So unfortunately, Matt, I have gone for a Liverpool 3-0 win. And I've gone for Salah for 2 and Mane for the other, because again, I think they'll not only smell the fact that they're quite close to the final, but they'll also see what Forest have done to the other sides that they've played on the way through. So I think they'll put out a decent side.
I originally put Mane down and then changed my pick. Paul.
So I'm just checking to see if my guy that I want to pick is actually sort of fit and in the squad at the minute. Yeah, I'm going for a 2-0 Liverpool win. I'll go for Firmino to get one of the goals. I was going to go for Minamino, but he doesn't look to have been in the squad the last couple of weeks, so he might be injured. So I'll go for Curtis Jones to get the goal.
Is that not just one player, but just like with a bit of a stammer? It's like Firmino, Minamino.
He could be.
Imagine that's the Jan Vennegoor of Hesselink shirt all over again.
So what I'm looking for here, Matt, is a heavy Nottingham Forest win.
It's a heavy win for somebody. I've gone for 1-4 to Liverpool. I think it could be a bit of a stuffing.
Jeebus. Goal scorers.
Johnson for Forest, just push it over that 30 million mark. And then I've gone Salah, Jota, Origi, and of course he bloody would, because that's the way it is. Henderson.
Okay, there we go. That is their games predicted. As previously mentioned, we will be rolling up with the second half of what will now become last week's predictions, even though 2 of the games haven't played. Obviously, we've probably covered this enough. I think people probably get it. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. That's the games predicted. So we've done some of the reviews of the games. We've done the news. We've done football predicting. That can surely only mean that there's one thing left, and it's the any other business section. Does anybody have anything else they want to cover? Did anybody manage to grab a light-hearted story to finish on?
Oh, I've got something. It's probably the opposite of light-hearted, but it is humorous or amusing to say the least. So, not championship related, but it is football related. So obviously Everton having an absolutely appallingly bad season, and I saw something that had flashed up on Twitter. Now there is every possibility that this could just be one of those prank tweets, or someone's taking the piss, putting 2 and 2 together and getting 85 or whatever. But there is a quote, or there is a tweet that's gone out that says, this is from Purely Football, so at Purely Football on Twitter, Everton have had more players appear in court than Premier League wins since September. 3 wins, 4 players appear in court.
Ooh.
So, do with that what you will, but just an odd thing to just to finish the week on, really.
There's a stat for you. Anybody else got any other business?
The only one I think I shared it with you guys was the Portuguese league game, where I think it was so the mascot of Atletico Mineiro, the Galo Doido, Portuguese for Mad Rooster, has been suspended for 1 match due to intimidating behaviour after blocking an opposition player during celebrations. So you can't really see it there, but as he runs away, there he goes, the Mad Rooster. Kind of thing. But yeah, I just enjoyed the 1 game suspension as well, kind of thing for. Yeah.
Is it the mascot that's been suspended for a game, or is it the guy in the suit?
I assume the guy in the suit and possibly the mascot are both. Like you're out and yeah, you can go.
I'll take your costume with you.
I really hope that they sit him in the top of the stand in handcuffs or something. Just make a point of zooming in on him on the TV.
No. What they need to do is they need to go 1 step further than that. Because he's a rooster, they need to build a cage. And then they can say that they've had to cage the rooster and stuff like that. And he can just sit there, just giving it rock all on the bars and stuff for the entire 90 minutes. That's the way to do it.
Well, there we go. I was going to make a joke and then realise it probably wasn't overly appropriate for a child-friendly podcast. Let's put it that way. If there's nothing else, if there's no football funnies left, then I will thank you, gentlemen, for joining me and Mr. Williams, especially, to take these lovely people through the sometimes murky world that is known as football. We will be back next week in some sort of capacity to talk about the games that were predicted, have been predicted, and maybe not to predict if there's a break?
We'll have England games to cover.
Oh, wonderful. Well, look forward to that utter joy next week.
It's just so Matt can pick Jordan Henderson 2 weeks running.
Whee. Right, gentlemen, thank you very much, and I'll catch you next time. So there you go, what do you think to that? More games to come, a lot more games to come. Might even be an international break coming. But we'll still be here talking football. Before you go, while I've got you, please do consider subscribing. Like, share, comment, all of those wonderful things we can do with our, podcasts, I guess. You can also check out our website, thecookiecast.com. Over there we've got links to social media and email. You can drop us a line, get in touch with us through many means, and we encourage you to do so. There we go, that's it for this one. Until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.